blowing all money. Spending million, make back. Man enough off all hustle. I don't even got a rap. Grinding, I get it. Stacking, I spin it. You know the routine.
What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength, where we're giving you the inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course, with me, I got some gentlemen of extraordinary league guys. Sorry, I had to get that Wale flow in there. You know, he was going off on it.
You definitely.
Let's go around the table and introduce ourselves, please.
KR Jones is in the building. Good morning.
A lot of sauce in the building. Troy Brooks is here, man. What up?
Your trainer Corey, a.k.a. Master Corey, if you woke.
That's right. We got the full squad in the house, so you know it's going to be a good day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from near and far, we have a very special guest with us in the building today. Oh, fellas, we here to play. I don't know if you understand what time it is. We are here to play. Now, we had to bring our man on, one of the first guests that we had. I know we got a lot of new listeners out here, right? We got to make sure that we get them up on the type of game and the type of league of extraordinary gentlemen that we actually keep concert with. That's what I'm talking about, Troy. He's in here. We on that Ric Flair today, baby. It's going to be an episode.
Hey.
We got to hit him back. Friend of the show. Everybody, let's make some noise for Babalos up in the house, my man.
My God.
Carlos,
Yes, sir.
what's going on, homie? How you feeling?
I'm good, brother. How you, man?
I'm feeling, yo, if I'm wearing my homie shirt when he actually here, you know I'm on a different type of vibe.
I see the support, my brother.
Come on, man. What's going on, brother? How you moving today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's Monday.
There
Let's
we
get
go.
it.
We in here, man. We in here. We feeling good. I see my man been touching on all different types of sands all over the world. I want to catch up with the brother. I want to salute with him. But Los, I told you, we got to bring this thing back.
Yes, sir.
We got to touch it down the right way, right, fellas?
Absolutely.
Way back.
We got to take it back. We got to make sure we put that signature
water.
sauce on it. Jones is going to get on it. He's going to get the vocals right.
That was that singing in front of a garbage that's on fire in the alley.
Man,
That was that old
it
doo-wop.
sounded good in the shower, though. This shower this morning, he was like, I'm hitting with the way.
He playing that.
That was fire in the shower. Then he came
was
in and
getting
then the frog caught him.
You know, it's a little cold outside. We're going to let it rock.
You gotta adjust. You gotta adjust.
You know?
That Manuka ginger drops.
Whatever
Warm
you
up the
need,
vocal
man,
cords.
you
You gotta
know?
do re mi fa sol la ti do.
That's why we in here, you know? Big Los.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to come down that table. I want the new listeners to understand that when we touching down on this space, this is a man that we salute. Los, you got to take it back from me. Let me know, where were you when you first fell in love with this thing we call wellness, brother?
I want to say earlier so 20s, kind of was dealing with a lot of weird insecurities and like not really kind of understanding where I fit in the world. I guess the best way to put it. And was just trying to figure out a space that helped me figure out like who I was, what I wanted to do, because I was in this very weird kind of space at the time. And started working out, and luckily like the gym that I was at like had this dope little community. You know what I mean? You come in, you punch in, you do your workout, you leave. But it was, you know, starting to kind of get to know the people in the gym, and it started to become more of a lifestyle and less of an activity.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, got to a point where I was like, okay, you know, I'm doing a bunch of stuff with psychology, you know, as far as like my education was concerned. But that space started to become very kind of therapeutic and helped me start to kind of figure out like who I was and what my role could be. So I just kind of gravitated towards that and then just wanted to become a part of that. So, you know, started working on the floor at, you know, blank, blank, blank.
Yeah, you know how we feel about the places.
Exactly.
I love it.
I got you. You know, and kind of started building that community as a one-on-one trainer. Then I was taking a class at the time, this sports conditioning class that kind of fell in love with and kind of like the energy of it. And the instructor did a really good job of using music that I liked, you know, and that resonated with me to kind of motivate people in the class. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of dope. Like, that's what I want to do. Like, I have all this sports knowledge, and I also like understand music, you know, in my opinion, in a different way. Like, I appreciate music in a very different way, and I pay a lot of attention to like music. Like, you know, Troy kind of knows this. Like, I kind of resonate with music on a certain level. So I started to see how those two aspects of like who I was started to kind of come together, and I was like, oh, so I want to start teaching group exercise, and then started teaching that sports conditioning class, and that turned into like this whole legit community for like, honestly, like 6 or so years, like 6 to 8 years in Harlem. It was this community of people that started out as this fitness class or whatever, and turned into like a family. Like I still consider people that I met in that space family. And it was, just seeing like how fitness wasn't just sort of this isolated space that had this very like small impact. Like it could have this much larger impact. And for me, being someone who really considers myself like introverted and shy, contrary to like the professions that I'm in, I'm very introverted, and finding a space that allowed me to kind of get out of that introversion and feel a lot more comfortable with, who I am as a person and sort of where I'm going as a person was just huge for me. And I started to realize that, this isn't just about fitness. Like there's this greater, if you want to call it wellness, component that comes from being in this space. So, since then I've just tried to figure out for me the best spaces for me to be in within that larger space that allow me to gain some insight into how I can be better in this space. What can I add to the space that is in already there? Because for me, the space is important because of the impact that it's had on me. So I have like a very sort of emotional attachment to the space. And I think that's why I'm as passionate at times about making sure that others feel safe and feel comfortable and feel welcomed and feel appreciated within that space. And that's, where some of my research has kind of taken me. So yeah, very long-winded response to your question. But
we know what we're getting into. We got the professor over on this side, right? We can make sure that we have the time for elaborate answers, but you hit on a couple of different notes that I definitely like to pull out inside that space. I think first and foremost, we got to acknowledge that family component. Oh, yeah. Now, we met, I'd say I probably used to see Los on the train a bunch of times. You know the time in the train when you see a bunch of people going into the city wearing Nike Tech head to toe. It's like, you got to be doing the same shit I'm doing, man. Ain't nobody up at 4 in chains looking like this, about to go inside these spaces.
Same uniform.
So I remember seeing you in the uniform. Then I remember, oh, wait, hold on. He's a professor at the same school. I was like, why am I not putting these things together? It's because we up at crazy-ass hours in the morning, can't really connect these things. Ended up getting that tutelage while we were at school and all the rest of that stuff, and started to just one small connection in that point. But we've had in the last, 10 weeks, we've had so many different people that cross in that same lineage and that same tree that we have inside this space. We talking about the Mastermind Connect folks. We talking about Sin all the way up there with putting these shirts out and all the rest of that stuff. We talking about the homie SR. We talking about Flex. We talking about a lot of people that's on this same lineage of what this New York wellness scene is at. This is not coincidence, folks. This vibe attracting, the tribe that you actually have around you is something, this is that in motion. That's why I really wanted to bring this back and have this conversation again, because I don't think we got to touch the roots of everything that we had the first time and seeing how these connections could be made. I love the fact that you see the value in that, and that's where the passion is, and that's where that impact kind of drives. I don't know if we got a chance to dive into how important it is to have people of this type of mentality, of this type of mindset, be able to drive and inspire each other. Fellas, what's going on in your set? How y'all feeling about getting Los back in here and making these connections known to people? Because the first time, I think they might have missed it. We got to say it again for the people in the back. You know what I'm saying, man?
Nah, so it's always good to have one of the brothers out here giving that good information and good knowledge, and we can dive a little bit into the mind.
We talked about a lot, man.
You know what I mean?
For sure. Especially that healthy people not necessarily living healthy. That was the topic of the last discussion, and getting inside there. I want to hear how that evolved and how that took off. Definitely want to get into that. But you mentioned something briefly about the musical component, right? And understanding music in a different way and how that helps you impact and move people. Now, everybody in the room. The brother to my side over here, he's the lyrical exercise guy. I know he's got some questions for you, but I know that this is a part of that same building your tribe and that rhythmic energy. This is going back. We talking about going to diaspora, my man. We talking about sub-Saharan, my man. This music tying us together and being able to keep these stories going forward. This is us.
Facts.
Jones, bless him with something, man.
When you talk about the music component, it's one of those languages that I feel like not everybody speaks, but the people that do immediately, and you don't even have to say anything. Y'all can look and you just know, and you can speak through body language. I think about when you talk about, I guess, the music in the diaspora, like, and just how I grew up. I grew up in such an old school R&B home, and that's like where my roots stem from. And I don't think we got into that music talk for you. So where do your roots musically stem from that brought you to this point?
I mean, it's definitely hip hop. Like, hip hop very early on was like everything that I listened to. And I actually had some cousins that were from South Carolina. So I would listen to a lot of Southern music too. Like, I was on like Outkast and Goody Mob and Scarface and all that way before, a lot of people up in the Bronx where I grew up were on it. So I just had this appreciation for music. And I think for me, hip hop was even more significant because being curious about the sound behind the dope lyrics, like, got me into jazz, got me into, you know, certain types of Caribbean music that I hadn't heard before. And it just expanded my sort of appreciation and the depth of my knowledge about music. It's funny when you were talking about, like, just having that person, like, appreciate I can distinctly remember my boy Chris Allen, who's, you know, my age or whatever, and is also a hip hop head. I would play, like, the sample used in a song for, like, half of it, like, confuse everybody. They're like, wait, where's the rest of the song? And then play the song that is sampled. Yeah. And I throw that in there, like, every couple of mornings. And he'd always be the one, literally, like, middle of the workout. We could be doing burpees. He'll hear the switch, and he'll just look up and be like, you motherfucker.
He's like, you up here DJing.
Like I see. And, like, literally, dude, like, it would be those Saturdays, just that little bit was worth, like, you know, however much time, like, I spent, like, finding the sample for the song and, like, knowing when I should, like, cue from one to the next. So it's always been something that I've appreciated, because I think I appreciate the layers that come with, you know, something like hip hop, you know, and the level of, like, samples, and literally hearing, like, 3 seconds of this one song and knowing how it's going to fit in this other, like, larger tapestry. Like, that's amazing to me.
I'm trying to figure out how I can monetize that skill, because you give me that 5 second, that's it's boom, boom, boom. I mean, I don't know yet, but I get it. It makes a lot of sense.
Because I'll be listening to some samples and I'm like, all right, where's the part? Oh, that was the part? You know what I mean? And then it's like another 8 minutes to the song, and you're just like, yo, how did that person, like,
take that one
see
intricate
that? Because it's not just hearing
that.
Like, you saw that. You know what I mean? Like, you heard that sound, and you visualized sort of where it fit in this larger tapestry. Like, that's always been something that's been really dope to me, and that I've appreciated. So I've continued to, like, consume it as much as possible. I don't leave my house without headphones.
Yeah.
I'll be late.
You need to bump.
If I get to that train station and I realize, oh wait, I don't have
double
my
back.
And it's also ties into, like, my introversion. Like, that allows me to not have to interact with people when I'm in public, because I got the big boys on. Like, there's
Studios.
no confusion.
Don't talk to me.
Listen, it's canceling the noise. I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. Like, and just walk away.
You can give people that eye contact with the blank stare, just the real looking dead at you but not acknowledging you.
Oh, as soon as you see that they're about to, you start bopping your head. Oh, this is when it came on.
They're not even on right now.
This ain't the time. There's no light.
Your light's not on. Like, none of that.
Nah, I turned it up. I dimmed it. I dimmed my light. Don't worry about it.
He's like, that's already been off, man. But I like the wizardry that you're talking about, and that's what made me gravitate toward DJing super early on, right? So you're looking at the likes of, like, a Pete Rock, and he pulls out something from the Reminisce, where it's like a 4-second jazz break that's nothing in the song.
It's a great horn
but you
breakdown.
take it and you loop it back around.
That horn, he heard that horn.
He's like, I want this. I want these 8 seconds right here. Or
It makes the song.
It changes
I'm
everything.
hearing it right now.
Right, exactly. That's what we're coming in with.
That horn come in, you know.
Yeah, you know what time it is.
Shout out to Street Hoops. That was the only reason I knew that song.
I mean, listen, whenever
I
it
found
comes
out
to
about
you,
Troy, and I was like, oh, damn, off the stage? Damn.
he gives it to you whenever it comes in there, man. And we have some true wizards in that artistry inside that DJing ilk and that producer ilk that took us through that space. And I think I see the parallel between great instructors and great producers on that same side, because you are playing the room. Moving the crowd is a part of both of these spaces. That's why I think wellness, hip hop, these things are not separated in my mind, because I got to know how to move the crowd. I need to know how to get you in the back of the room to feel what we saying up here. So I'm going to hit you with this little gem, plant this seed, and then be like, okay, if you really paying attention, if you really ahead, when this hits, your mind is going to explode. And then we're going to get to these burpees, because I know how my man was trying to give it up over on the other side, you know?
Yo, I remember when I first realized the power of controlling the mood with the music. And I was with a brand that was very much not focused on music. It was just being played. And then I started really playing with the music. And that's one of the reasons why I became known within the brand, is the use of music that way. Now a lot of times I don't even have to talk to my class about changing the pace. The music changes and everyone's pace automatically slows. Oh, this song came on. We must be heading into slowing it down. Now we're fading into a stretch. You don't even have to know what time it is, because you can hear what time it is. When did you figure that out? Like, you figured out how to control that mood and dictate the crowd that way?
I think because my mentor, for lack of a better term, who taught the class that I took a lot before me, like, that was his vibe. Like, you know, it was very specific kind of songs at the beginning. Then you kind of picked up the pace in the middle, you know, and depending on how you wanted to end it, like, you know, you'd pick something for that. But like, I started to notice how he was kind of impacting. And also, I think I noticed when it didn't work more than when it did work.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, oh, okay, I see why that didn't work in that particular situation, and trying not to make those same kind of tempo mistakes. And again, you know, there are going to be times where it's not going to completely, you know, go the way that you want it to. But I think like if you're playing the room the right way, then it doesn't matter what the song's going to be like. They're going to know what time it is at that point. You know what I mean? They're going to know like, no, like this is when we're going to pick it up. And I'm going to have you go into a space that you may not feel the song it should take you to, but I'm still going to use the song to take you there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's a certain energy that you can create within that space that like the music has such a significant impact on. You know what I mean? Like you got to know when to play what. You know, you got to know like when that class is going to need that, you know, 1990 something ratchet down south song that's just inappropriate as hell, but you know what, they're awake now.
They're gonna get
like,
to it.
Like they're back to where they need to be. Like you got to know, like, you know, when you got to drop those.
That's one of the reasons I stopped making playlists for my class. I don't make playlists at all. I run the songs during live, and to keep that vibe going. And you know, sometimes you see people dragging. Well, we was going to slow it down, but y'all need Bombs Over Baghdad right now. Let's get your ass
Man,
up.
that is
you know
on
what I mean?
every playlist that I have. It's literally like, it's my
one of
just
them
in
joints.
case.
Like,
It's my just in case.
That's an
great
emergency
burpee song,
track.
too, though. That's a great
It's a great
That is an
everything
emergency
song.
track. Like
Yeah.
Bombs Over Baghdad is the oh shit, I'm losing them.
And they know as soon as it comes on, they're like, God damn it.
I got to do this now.
That's a song that makes you mad.
They just
Yeah,
keep
because
hitting right
you
in
have
it.
to move.
You
Like,
have to.
you get mad when you're tired and you hear that song, you're like, God,
I know he ain't
hate
pull
you.
out.
Yeah.
They know that Lumidee, when that snap starts coming in, you know that's about to go.
Y'all are wild for that one, man. He's still riding with Lumi D. Lumi D would be happy that you playing her stuff.
Yeah, she would.
Like, yo,
Shout
I'm
out to
getting.
her.
You got to follow that with the
Shout
Nina
out to
Sky.
You do, but when you
Shout
put
out
it
to
on,
that.
when you put it on,
Yeah.
everybody look up and smile. You put that on, like when you know you got
alert
to
on her
dig.
phone. He's like,
Remix.
"Word." I got that. I'm still hitting.
Corey
It's like,
keeping
yo,
them royalty
who is
checks
that? That's
coming
what I'm
in.
saying.
You know what I mean?
Like 0.0005 cent. All right, that's what's up. I love that shit.
Damn, Corey, class was good.
005, Liddy.
Yo, I'm in there, man.
Hey.
It's a shame, but you know what?
every little
Again,
bit helps, man.
it
Every
does.
It
little
was
bit
residual, man.
it's one of those things that, again, I see another parallel in these spaces, right? So we put out this content in different ways, different shapes, and different forms in the evolution of a trainer. We haven't necessarily understood how powerful that monetary arm should be on our return side, much like early artists were. You know, it's like, hey, I'm going to sign away all my royalties because I want to get on. I want to do all the rest of this stuff. Yeah. And I know you've seen different people in different spaces and things moving as people get to certain levels. You reach a top point, you hit a glass ceiling, you get a little frustrated, right? And that's kind of what the birthplace of our last conversation was in that psychology space, burnout, avoiding that, you know, going around and putting in different plans and structures inside of different communities for trainers to have these resources to talk about and to have these different things. And I want to really commend you for doing that. And I want to pick that back up. What's the evolution of this healthy people being healthy conversation? Where have you been taking that recently?
I had a conversation recently with the folks over at Talent Hack. And I think that's something that I kind of want to make a little bit more of a prominent conversation. Like Talent Hack does a good job of like kind of posing the questions out to the community. But I kind of want to create a space where we're actually giving the community something back.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel is becoming more and more significant for me, because you're looking at kind of the landscape and you're looking at you know, sort of where fitness is evolving and where it's going, and you're seeing, and I'm not, you know, going to say anyone specific, but you're seeing people that like you respected at one point, like the basing, it might be aggressive, but like just like not being the professional that you know they can be, you know what I mean? And it's this diluting of who a fitness professional is, in my opinion. And I haven't really like talked to anyone about it, but I'm kind of workshopping, you know, some sort of like conversation around like, I don't know, just integrity within this space.
Break that out for me. What do you mean by integrity?
It just feels like the fitness community is sort of becoming this sort of mockery of itself almost. You know what I mean? Like the kind of prototypical image that we have of fitness professionals, I feel like the community was trying to move a little bit away from that and add a little bit more, diversity and just like the representation of what a fitness professional should look like. And I feel like I've seen a lot of spaces recently trying to like revert to kind of that older kind of image of what the fitness professional is supposed to look like, how much oil and shimmer has to be on the fitness professional for them to be taken seriously within the space.
I hear you, man. And we get on these mics twice a week and bring those folks to task, my man.
They're trying to bring us back to baby oil.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, again.
It's too cold for baby oil, man.
You out there shaking, shivering, and shimmering is not a good look, man.
Yeah, nah, man, you're going to freeze that baby oil off.
I can't be no shinier than shea butter. That's all I got.
I mean, I totally get where you're going with that. And I know that that's a topic of conversation that we have often inside here is like, okay, what's the prototype supposed to be? What's success look like? And honestly, it's hard for people to understand that because the field is evolving at a rapid rate. I don't really know if a lot of people understand how fast and how far we really can go, because you haven't seen people dare to go that far just yet. So before it was, hey, I'm gonna get on at one of these spaces. I'm gonna start to make my DVDs. I'm gonna put this stuff out. I'm gonna do all the rest of these things. And then you've seen these people start to have their shelves and their top lines, and now they're starting to sell you books. They're starting to go into different directions. I think that there's a litany of things that, as wellness has become a popular conversation, we have agency in a lot of different spaces. You have to sometimes borrow from outside this industry to get that influence going in a different direction. And I know my brothers inside here pull from a lot of different people to see what they build their brand on. Because realistically, your brand is going to be where you take that next step, transition out of that. This is me in this rut. And now I'm a wellness brand. Well, wellness, since it has such wide berth, I have wide berth. I can go into a lot of different directions. I could take that. Fellas, you want to talk a little bit about how y'all pull inspiration from different spaces and see how you're changing the narrative that he's saying so that I know we're not in this room, those stereotypical cookie cutter kind of spaces. How are we changing that narrative?
The majority of my inspiration comes from seeing things done poorly and looking at how do I do this better. So being, in any kind of wellness experience or any kind of space, you walk up into a brick and mortar and you look around and immediately you go, oh man, this should have been over here. Like, why is the front desk on this side? Like, you should have been right here. So a part of what inspires me in like the operational side is like, let me just make this better so that I can make it right. I just want it to be right. And then that starts to spill over into other things, into hearing the music in certain people's classes and the way things are being run and the way fitness feels in general, because you'll see us, but you don't see us all the way. Our representation is still very, very limited. You see us in like sports related things, but not necessarily lifestyle things still. We still only exist to a certain point, and then it starts getting real rare. It's still to the point where when you start getting into boardrooms and those higher level conversations, you stop seeing us past the janitor. So all those spaces where I see that things aren't right, that's where I want to insert myself so that I can make that change. When I see something that doesn't feel the way I want it to feel, I just try to make something similar that I can do instead and give somewhere some other option than the shit that's already existing.
Yeah, I respect that. You got to exist in the room before you can pull others in the room.
Exactly.
Definitely feel that. I think for me, and I don't mean to sound arrogant. You can take it how you want, listeners, but I'm super intrinsically motivated. I don't really pull a lot of inspiration from outside things. I internally reflect on what I did and what I'm trying to do, and a lot of my motivation comes from drive. I think people really just don't manifest on how important drive is, and I'm like, my drive is my motivation. Like, I have things I'm trying to do. I have things I've accomplished. I don't get comfortable with those things, and I continue to try to push myself to grow, which is why I got into therapy. I've been saying for years, I need to get my mind right. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I need the mental components to help me get to the next level. That's something that I internally reflect on. I internally internalize and reflected on to make that step to now grow to another level. I have a family. It always comes back to home. I look at my son, I look at my life, I look at what we're trying to do, what we're aspiring to do. I look at them sometimes for inspiration, but that's about usually as far as it goes. I'm in my bag. When I say I'm in my bag, I'm in my bag. I don't care about what he's doing. I don't give a fuck about what she's doing. At the end of the day, what you eat does not make me shit.
When you talk about therapy for a second, let's stay here and let me understand. Why was it important for you to go and seek this out? What led you to that space?
I feel that there's probably several things that have happened in my life personally that I have just never spoken on or found resolution on. I mean, just the fact of being a black man who has never grown up with a father and is now being a father, I think I have some issues with, am I parenting the right way? Like, am I being too hard on myself about my parenting journey? So I think that's definitely something that super duper affected me. Again, I grew up in the hood. I done been in lots of shit. I done physically been stabbed. I done been in a lot of things that where I'm aggressive to the point where if it's you or me, it's not going to be me. It's going to be you. And I think we've normalized things that are not normal coming from some of the communities that we come from. And for me, I think real power can come from restraining yourself and being able to have the power to be able to do something, but also have the power to restrain yourself in a situation. And I think that's something that I've been always working on. And I can honestly, openly say that I've always been with the shits. Like, I'm calm, as cool, and collective, but aggressive enough that if you're going to take me there, it's going to go there. And it's not going to be me. I'm going to walk away from this thing. So I think getting with a therapist and learning to be a little bit more reserved and in control of my emotions and my thoughts was definitely something that really wanted me. And I think there's a lot more than that, more to unpack. But those are the things that I'm aware of. Because I think when you go in therapy, you think you have an idea of what it is, and then you get below the surface and you open these other doors and you find yourself that, no, it was correlated to this thing or that thing. At least that's what the therapy is showing me. So
Right. And I want to push on that just because I know that there's somebody listening that has that same, maybe this is something that, it's a buzzword now, right? Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's inside the space. And while we have somebody who's actually invested in psychology, I think it's a good place to understand and unpack.
Absolutely. To him about this when we were working together.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I think, you know, if we don't understand where the point of departure is, then maybe we don't necessarily get to the people who really have those other adverse reactions in that space, right?
Yeah.
I understand them both. I understand the full birth of it. And we want to make sure that we get to people the information in that space. And I want to come back to Loson's side there. But Troy, I want to stay with you for 1 second. So as you're feeling these inner feelings, right? And you're going through all the rest of the stuff. What led you to say, you know what, you could have had a whole lot of different ways that you reacted, right? That's the reality of that. What made you go in a direction that this is a positive thing and I'm going to invest inside this space?
I think it's, you know, when I speak to people about it, people are like, nah, man, I ain't with that. I'm not trying to hear that. No, we don't do that. You hear that a lot in our community.
I know.
We don't do that, right? And I was like, nah, I'm going to push back. I'm going to be the one that says, no, we do this. And I felt like it was something that I could just naturally benefit from. I think that non-biased, non-judgmental opinion is going to be something that I can take. Because one thing I am good at is I don't have a problem with criticism. Correction has never been punishment for me. So somebody who's not attached to me can give me a realistic view of something that I might be looking at with a very egotistical way or a very stubborn way, and I can get that opinion that's going to help me grow. That's something I'm here for. I think we got to continue to grow and evolve our minds. We can lift all the weights, we can do all this, we can make all the money, and at the end of the day, you can still be poor if the mentality is not right. And I think therapy is helping me chisel the mentality. The body can be chiseled, but the mind has to be right.
What was the inverse of that? Before you started to put this positive stuff inside that space, where were you going?
I think just as a new dad, someone who, again, in the fitness profession, running around multiple different business endeavors, walking into these rooms like Corey, not seeing the right representation, living in a very affluent neighborhood where there's not a lot of people that look like me, I started to just see myself becoming angry, just angry, a little bit bitter. And a little bit on edge. And because I come from a neighborhood where when the shit ain't right, we fight, we scrap, whatever it is, like I started to get to a point where I was just on edge. And I felt like I was starting to hit a ceiling or a breaking point. And before I got to that point, I was like, you know what? I finally feel like I'm at that point where I have to now take this accountability. Just how when I lost all the weight and before I got into wellness, I started to breathe heavier. I started to feel stress on my joints. My back hurt. I didn't like the way I looked in clothes. I didn't like the way I looked in the mirror. So those same feelings came back almost without actually having the weight. It was just, I don't like the way I respond to things. I don't like the energy I'm giving to certain situations. I don't think I'm operating or being my best self. I don't think I'm making all the right decisions that I can make. Even though I'm doing good, I could be doing better.
And that's the key, right? Yeah. So now we're going to bring it back to this side. You see what we're doing over here, my brother. We pick up some stuff and we understand how to navigate through these conversations. Now I want to understand about this book, because I think that is a good point of departure inside this same space in terms of understanding what sports psychology is, in terms of understanding where your background is. And shout out to, again, I think that was Leisure Carter, teamed up with you on that same side. And again, another what used to be the Blackbird side. You know, I'm not even acknowledging the new name. You know, they call it whatever it is. I'm still Brooklyn's.
Oh, you a shark?
Yeah, nah, I ain't a shark.
You a shark, dog. Because I'm a shark, you a shark, he's a shark. We all sharks out here.
I'm Blackbird. So like I was saying, yeah, exactly. So like I was saying, in this space, these are very common things. They might seem individually very personal when you're going through it, when you're in those emotions. It might seem like none of the rest of the world is feeling that, specifically when you're in a fucking position where you're literally on a pedestal and people are looking up to you and they expect you to be perfect and you feel that pressure.
Dude, as Troy was talking, like I'm literally like putting my own version of that same exact story.
That's why I wanted to have a combo,
in my head. I'm like, oh shit, like you just verbalized like the exact same, and you know, again, parts of it are gonna be different, but like that process, I'm like, oh shit, we're like twins. What the mama, we gotta talk. Like
it's everybody in this room, man. That's crazy. Everybody listening to this
crazy.
mic.
I was literally in my head just now, like, yo, that's crazy. Like that path, like, and the same thing with the therapist. Like I love my therapist, dude.
Yeah.
Adore my therapist. Like, and it's not because she doesn't push back. It's not because she doesn't challenge me. Like, my therapist will have me talk to myself. Literally, like, I'll be sitting down, I'll say something, she's like, I need you to respond to that.
Wow.
And she'll have me stand up. I'm like, do I really? Yeah.
That's what's
but
up.
like, and now like I internally do that. Like when I have those thoughts, and we all have them, that you're like, you know what, that's stupid. Like, we just leave it at that, but we continue with that thought. You're never like, no, like that's really stupid. Why are you thinking like that? Like, why is that the response that you have right now? Like having that internal conversation and having a better understanding of like where your motivation is coming from. I think that's something that a lot of times we don't give ourselves the space to kind of process, and forcing yourself to be with someone for 45 minutes a day, you know, however many times a week, like, give yourself that space. Like, give yourself that opportunity to better understand yourself, better understand your motivations, your fears, your wants. Like, we're constantly embedded with all this noise. Like, we never, or a lot of us don't give ourselves the space to really like shut that noise out and figure out like how you're actually feeling. Like, when it's funny when people ask me, like, you know, just randomly, like, oh, how you doing? Like, I'll pause and I'll actually think about it and give them a genuine response. And I always get this weird like reaction. And I'm like, no, I actually, if you ask me the question, like, I actually want to let you know how I'm feeling in this moment. Like, you asked, so I'm going to take this opportunity and like process how I'm actually feeling in this moment.
And it's particularly important for overperformers, right? And these are, if you're in this ilk, if you're cut from this cloth, you are an overperformer to a certain extent, right? You are doing things that most people will shudder at in their day-to-day lives. And this is why I think the importance of understanding how that ties into your athletic performance, understanding how these things manifest inside the world that we call wellness, all the rest of that stuff, and the space that you're doing your research and looking into how, you know, some of these microaggressions manifest into much bigger policy changes, all the rest of that kind of stuff. These conversations need to be had at a much louder volume, and this is why we are having this conversation today. Go a little bit into what you and Leisha Carter did together and looked into for that psychology approach to the greater wellness conversation.
I think for me, it kind of just started with having conversations with people that were in my classes or people that were in the spaces that I frequented, and also speaking to people that I knew wanted or had an interest in those spaces but didn't go into those spaces, and started kind of getting some insight and some clarity into what about the spaces wasn't appealing for a specific type of person, right? A lot of my research is on women of color. Which even in the spaces that I would teach in, I would notice that like very rarely was there, you know, a decent percentage of women of color in that space. So it kind of led to me just being curious about why that was, right? Because I'm clearly like not making whatever the connection is that, you know, because I didn't have an answer. So started doing, you know, sort of more explicit kind of focus groups with women of color on the participant side of it and also on the instructor side of it.
Yeah.
Just because I kind of wanted to get different perspectives. And from that, started seeing certain themes about how the spaces that sort of felt like they weren't safe or felt like they weren't welcoming, like what were some of the things within those spaces as far as like the marketing, as far as the branding, as far as like the general sort of aesthetic of like if they had attire, right? If they had like gym, specific
the swag
attire, like who's that really for? Like they were very like the music being played and who was playing it and who felt comfortable playing what type of music. Like there were a lot of things that I honestly hadn't really thought about, like who the instructor was and sort of how they carried themselves. There were so many little sort of nuanced pieces to the space, like the front desk staff, the cleaning staff, and what they look like stuff that I would never think about would impact someone's perception of a fitness facility, but I started hearing that from different sources, and a lot of that is what went into the chapter that I have in Dr. Carter's book. We just got something published at ASP on their blog. ASP is a Association of Applied Sports Psychology, which also talks about sort of microaggressions and the impact that they have within wellness spaces. We have a couple of other papers that we're working on within that space as well. I'm actually doing a focus group this coming weekend in Brooklyn, so the wheels are still moving.
I hear you, man.
Dope.
And I salute every single exploration in that space because I know the necessity of it. And don't get it twisted. That's exactly what Corey was talking about when he said you walk into a space and you see only a certain type of people doing a certain type of job, doing all the rest of these things. And then when you get to the music and I see somebody that background don't match what they playing and they leaning hard into certain words in certain songs, I gotta pull your coat and be like, hey player, what's going on? Let me really understand where you at. Like, oh, you going bar for bar? Let me hear these bars real quick. I want to see which ones you editing right now because this kettlebell about to come across the room.
I think one of the things that we have, because we have two cultures that are cross-pollinating right now in this conversation. We have the culture of athletics, and because all of us are athletes in some fashion at some point. And as an athlete, you're told, go. Be as aggressive as possible. Push, shit breaks, put some glue on it, rub some dirt on it, let's go. Then you talk about our culture. Our culture as men. How we are being taught to be aggressive, to be powerful, that, there is no weakness, keep going, keep hustling through. And we haven't given into the concept and the idea of the power of restraint. We miss out on that. Everything is always focused on forward, and then our immediate responses to things is an aggressive response that isn't always as effective as possible. So when we see things that make us uncomfortable or we see things that make us irritated, the immediate response is, let me go check this dude. But the person who put it in isn't necessarily the problem. There's a systemic problem that we really have to deal with. And if we don't deal with this systemic problem, then we're not really making a difference. So every one of us has to choose what path we choose to make this decision. Like I chose it. I don't like the way this building is set up, so I'm going to build another one. And you have the choice now to go to the other building with the other music, with the authentic shit. Then you can choose to go and confront that person. You can choose to talk to the culture and say, hey, look at you. We don't have to do this. And what Troy is doing and saying, look, I'm not comfortable with my aggression. And I know a lot of the root of that is I don't want my son to have this aggression. So let me change this for the next generation. So these conversations are necessary not just for our own self-development, and not just for the development of the listeners, but we always say it's difficult to fix adults. But if we can get this concept down, then this is a concept that our children can then have. And it's simple and it's palatable and it's something they can understand, that the response to negativity, the response to the push should be a strategic response and not an emotional response. And what therapy will help you do, or hopefully help you do, is decide about how you want to respond instead of respond.
And that's the thing, man, just listening to Troy talking about, like, even the whole fear of being a dad who didn't have a dad. You know what I mean? Like, people don't realize how terrifying that can really be. You know what I mean? Like, I was in the same boat and, had a very, very weird and tumultuous kind of understanding of, like, my lineage from, the person that I thought was my dad for most of my childhood actually not being my father, and realizing that, oh, I've never met this person at all. And, you know, any information I have about this person came from like my grandmother, you know, because my mom wouldn't even really talk about it. Then I have a son. I'm like, oh, cool. The fuck? Like, how we,
Seriously.
you know, and, you know, I leaned heavily on, you know, say what you want about like, you know, college education and like, you know, the utility of it. Like, I leaned a lot into my developmental psychology background with how I responded to my sons and how I understood my sons. And I think it's led to me parenting differently, significantly different. But it was hard, man. It was scary, like trying to navigate that space, like not having at least like a little half-written roadmap. You know what I mean? Like I don't need the full GPS.
Just-
like I don't need
give me the cliff
Waze.
notes, man.
Yeah, like tell me east or west, like something. Like
Right.
you know,
It's
tell me
crazy.
north or south. Like it can feel daunting, but you know, fortunately, like I had enough, you know, knowledge of sort of what I didn't want to happen.
Yeah.
And an understanding of sort of how my kids should and, you know, well developed, and, you know, that helped ease some of that, you know, anxiety. But it's still, and it's always going to be there to a certain extent.
That's something that I don't think ever goes away in a realistic space, because I hear that from a lot of brothers. I don't have any kids, but I'm around a lot of guys that have kids who came from a generation where their fathers were not present, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I want to champion you two guys, because the fact that you're thinking like this, the fact that you feel fearful of creating that same thing is the catalyst that you're doing to change the generation that comes after you. So seriously, in every aspect of my heart, salute both of y'all for thinking that way, because I know anything that's coming forward in your lineage is going to be way different from what the past was about. You're not fighting the past, you're setting the future right here, right now. And that's what we do. This is why this camaraderie needs to happen the way it's happening right now.
As a spiritual advisor of the Off the Strength podcast,
Obviously, it's Brother Jones.
You know
Brother
what
Jones
I
comes
mean?
in
I
with the
had-
spirits.
just hearing everything you're talking about, I had to drop this gem on you. Now, this is for y'all and for the listeners right now. So think about the word karma, and what is your definition like in your mind? Just think about it just briefly. Like, you hear karma, what do you think about that word? So the definition I'm going to give you is it's an action that creates the birth of other actions, period. Right? So that's all it is. So remove anything else you had. Now, it comes with two different attitudes. The first attitude is that I'm going to surrender and I'm going to do everything to reach my highest self, right? So if I got a challenge or a battle or something I'm fighting, I just, fuck it, I got to fight, but I have to do this to the highest capability that I have. The second attitude is that once I have surrendered and done that, whatever comes as a result is a gift, good or bad. This is how it's presented. And that's what got dropped on me in yoga teacher training. I was just like, damn, that's kind of heavy. You know what I mean? Because when I think about karma, I think about like, oh, I fucked up and this is coming back to haunt me. It's like, no, like it's an action that births another action. You know what I mean? So
I feel you. I feel you, Jones. Go ahead, breathe.
touch
that
the
out.
soul a little bit, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Breathe
When
that
your
in,
own
man.
words touch you, fam, you hit a
You know
different
what time
level.
it
I
is.
love it.
Breathe that
Go
in.
ahead, brother.
You know what
I
I'm
salute
saying?
you.
So yeah,
Mental masturbation right there.
facts.
You just transcended another level again,
He
man.
started levitating. Listen,
Yeah, I
man.
was looking up at
For
him.
real.
So, but I say that to say that it hit me heavy because it made me think about the parenting and the fatherhood and like, yo, every option or every obstacle that's presented to you, right? So you're here for a reason. You're the result of an action that took place. So to have that forethought or that foresight to be like, damn, I don't know what it's like to be a dad, but I know what I didn't have, so I'm gonna do this. You're already ahead of the game. Like Tony said, like you aren't fighting the past, you're creating that future. Yeah. So say all that to wrap all this karma talk up is that every action you make is going to birth a new action. Period.
We definitely gonna throw the ohms in after that. You already know. Let somebody levitate on that. Thank you, Brother Jones.
See, I just want to say something in regards to that because I think something that also has plagued us as men, and I know I've been a victim of the behavior, is toxic masculinity. And not having environments like this where men feel comfortable being vulnerable and giving the support and brotherhood that we truly need. I just read an article in Harper's Bazaar, one of these magazines have sent to me about toxic masculinity and why some men have no friends and their women bear the burdens of this situation, right? Because their man you have to now be everything for your man, and you have nothing for yourself, and how women have been broken. And long story short, we come from this male bravado bullshit where, like, did I choose to be the aggressive man that I am? Nah, I probably got into fights or bullied by kids whose fathers did it to them because they had this male bravado ego bullshit attitude, and then they went on the street and tried to test me, and I had to fight against that. And then I got this aggressive level and energy where I have to protect myself in the streets, in the wild, because it's been handed down by generation and generation and generation. So I think, the more we can change the story is creating these environments and these safe spaces, like you always say, these safe spaces for men to be open and vulnerable so that we could all grow and potentially get to that level that we need to get to.
Hell yeah, man. And I try not to even judge I have an issue with the toxicity aspect of that just because if I'm trying to survive, I got to survive however I got to survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth.
Look I didn't choose this system. Yeah. People put me in this system. Yep. So if I had to do whatever I had to do, and I know crooks and I know cops. Both in the same family. And they both operate. Actually, the cops probably operate a little bit more crooked than the crooks, But they got to do what they got to do to survive. And I don't judge that. Yeah. I try not to be present of that in recent terms and understanding how life actually operates. But for me to be toxic in a state of survival is really hard because I'm worried about food, water, shelter. I'm worried about all the rest of these things, and I'm worried about somebody else maybe taking something from me, right? So I have to survive. I got to be on all the time. I got to be watching the door. I got to be 10-2, comes from, bro. Right? But now that we're starting this next evolution, and we are gentlemen of extraordinary league, as we like to call ourselves in this space, come on, Loshu, in that gentleman of extraordinary league. Listen, we got a lot of leagues out here clicked up that we know a lot of members that move around in a lot of different ways, and I love every single aspect of it because I want to see everybody win, legitimately. Thanks. And I know it's a radical sounding thought, but we can be in the same space. Our product, our market viability only goes up if we're all winning in the same space. Mm-hmm. So one person getting on and closing the door behind them, they're going to be okay and their lineage might be all right. But if you would have let everybody else in that same door, you realize that we have a market. Wellness doesn't run without us. I'm going to say this now. I'm going to keep saying it. You cannot run a wellness studio without this kind of element. Yeah. You just can't. It's going to be dry as hell. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a bunch of them tunes that don't get the slap and don't get the emotion going back in the chest, You ain't going to have the wear look the same way. The gear, my man came in with 14 different types of camo and it was fresh as hell, top to bottom. Couldn't nobody else on that side do it. You look at him, you be like, what the hell is going on? Who's going to put this together, right? This is why I love coming in these spaces and celebrating my guys and literally being like, yo, fam, I want to see you go your domain expertise. I want to see you push that as far as you possibly can. I don't know if you know that this wellness conversation you're sitting on right now, there's a lot of people having it who don't have your level of expertise. It's a shame if you're not going inside that direction and saying, you know what? Yo, go sit down. You want to talk this mental health? All right, hold up. Let me go ahead and pull these degrees out. Mm-hmm. They heavy. You hear them coming. Yeah. So I got a couple of them. He just said, yo, I did something in a book. I got another psychology paper getting published next week. You just keep dropping them down. Yeah. There's people with half, not even a third of the level of dedication, research, and knowledge that you built up talking about the same thing you're talking about. So I got to call them to task whenever I see them.
Right. We just talked about, and we highlighted the fact that we are jumping over some generational curses when it comes to fatherhood. Tone, what you just said was another one of those curses that we've been jumping past, because for the longest time we were taught not to be each other's support, to not back each other up, because there's only room for one of us. So we got to crabs in a barrel our way through it. And the idea of real brotherhood and brothers looking out for each other and saying, yo, I want to see you succeed. I don't care what I get out of this, what you need. I don't care what moves. If one of us moves, we moving. And that wasn't a thing. It was really small circles and really tight knit. And it wasn't the idea, yo, if I see you and you look something like me, or I can identify something about something that you do, I rock with you. Mm-hmm. That hasn't been a thing. And that's another thing that we've been actively trying to promote and actively pushing and been successful with. And that's changed for this generation. That's another thing I look forward to for the next generation and the generations further is more of a brotherhood idea. and the idea that we don't have to be so aggressive against each other, and we can help each other out, and we can start talking about having better relationships with people. Shit, the word relationship wasn't even a word we used to use. We didn't even say that word.
Yeah, people would look at you weird. You be in a barbershop, my relationship with my other homie over there, they'd be like, what?
Y'all in a relationship?
They like, what, fam? What you want?
Like, I can't wait till the time comes when people don't have to say pause before they say a word. You know what I mean?
But,
We can just,
but it's coming.
It's coming.
Happening
It is coming.
because brothers are getting more comfortable with being who they truly are and not feeling like they have to have that male bravado bullshit attached to it, man.
you don't
We're
have to
grown
like
up, man.
clarify everything
Grown up.
and yo.
Say less sometimes.
Corey, I have to disagree with one thing that you said.
All right.
Solely because I feel like that atmosphere has always been around. You think of it as like somebody that's a rapper or an athlete that makes it out and then they pull all these people with them. But that's always been a thing. Like people
But that's
always
small
want to go.
circle.
I know, but I'm saying that small circle also majority of the time doesn't work. And that's what needs to be talked about. It's like if somebody you know makes it and you've given them everything to make it, but once they make it, you stop working because they're doing all the work. It has to be more of a, this is a shared collective. Like think about LeBron's circle. You know what I mean? Like everybody worked their way up, did their own thing so that everybody wins together. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking about the situation that I'm seeing and somebody taking on that burden and coming to the table with nothing else to give, you know what I mean? Or coming trying to sit down and eat with everybody. And it's like, you didn't do anything to get here, right?
Well, I want to make sure that we understand causality inside there because I do think you bring up an important point, but I do also think we're arriving at a point in everybody's maturity at a different stage, right? So before, we only knew one type of success. So if this one type of success worked for this one person, and I'm going to try to emulate this one thing, I might not have any of the precursor skills. I might not have done any of the precursor homework. I might not have done any of the stuff that would make me valid and viable for that type of success, but I'm still trying to emulate that type of success. I think the conversation that we're having and the evolution that we're saying is, you're dope at the stuff that you're doing that I know I'm never going to go in that direction for.
Let me elevate you.
I want you to go to that
That's
side.
what I mean by helping people where it may not necessarily help me. Because you're looking at like you look at LeBron's team as an example as you made. Well, one of them is now in everything.
Media.
Strictly in media. One of them is doing strictly marketing and advertising things. Like they're doing different things. They're in management. They're in different aspects. And a lot of times you talk that coming out of the hood situation. Well, if we all rappers, but I don't rap, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can look at the different things. Well, your boy's a school teacher. All right, let's talk about how we can elevate education. I got money.
Right.
You need resources. That's the thing.
Yep.
The brotherhood idea doesn't have to be we all do the same thing and move forward. It can be we just move forward. What can I do for you? What do you need from me? I hit people all the time and I say, yo, what can I do? And I'm not really, it's only certain people. So if you haven't gotten a call, it's because you're not worth it. But
Facts.
I reach out and I say, yo, what can I do for you? Like, I don't care what you need. You're dope. You need help. I got you. We'll worry about the other shit later. You know, that hasn't been a thing. And that's very recent. And it's dope.
Yo, this nigga just said, if I haven't called you, you're not
Super
worth it.
facts.
I'm still,
Listen, we went back to our
processing.
first guest.
I'm still
for a
processing the
reason.
people that are going to hear this
Yeah.
and just weep.
Oh, they should hear it right now
Like,
because
damn, I
again,
ain't talking to him in mad long.
we sticking with our A1 day ones because we on that
That's why I
brotherhood.
hear
Chew
from
on
him.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
If
there's
you
a
ain't
bunch,
heard from me, chew on that.
fam, there's a bunch of calls coming in now. It's like, oh, now y'all want to get on the boat. And it's like, hey,
Wait,
listen.
he ain't even following me no more. What
Exactly.
the hell?
Yo, let me tell you the other day I left from one of our events and the dude was like, yo, take my number, hit me. And I was like, I already got it, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's a reason for that. Exactly.
He's right here.
Listen, we're all about this.
Ain't that you?
This
Ain't that you,
this
bro?
allied mindset, but you got to be coming with something that you actually want to do, right? And we've said that before too. You're not coming with an ask. You're coming with here's what I can do, right? And not everybody has to start with the same level of value. You can learn up. You can do different things, But if you're coming in service of, that's the kind of movement that is going to be disruptive. That's the kind of movement that, forget about our industry. We're changing a lot of industries. I want to be disruptive.
Yeah.
I want to get into this provocative shit, guys. I'm trying to change the world, guys. One body and mind at a time, guys. And I want to do it with my G's in here. You know what I feel? I feel it in my heart.
In your heart.
There it go.
You gotta get it in the heart, man.
Waiting for it.
For the hort.
I was waiting for a heart to pop out.
You gotta do it for him, man. Yo,
Get on his West Coast hort.
my heart. I ain't even gonna start to throw the affiliations with that, but you feel it in the heart.
If you start
fam.
sea walking, I'm not. That's all I know.
You gotta let them know, man. I told you I understand the crooks
Fingers
and the
start
cops.
flying around. He's starting to do things. I don't speak sign language. What's that, man?
Yeah, man.
Sometimes they the same dude. The crook and the cop be the same dude a
That's
lot.
why I said it. And the cop
of
be
the
the
time.
cop be the one that you really gotta watch.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Dude, you know when them dudes go through that much trouble to get a badge, you about to use this badge.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen it. I've been on the side. Again, shout out to them because I'm related to them in some way, shape, or form. You know, I can't shake these affiliations, fellas. That's what I'm just saying. You know, Los, I want to come back to you for a second because we just had all types of camaraderie in this space, and I know that we're gonna keep banging this drum down the line for this alliance to keep happening and keep going forward. What would you like to see happen in the next span of, I'd say, let's go in a year, where you're going in your evolution? What success looks like coming down that year for you, Los, and where you trying to go?
I think just it's funny because we were talking earlier about like sort of who I am currently within this space and sort of who I can be. I don't know, like something about what you said really resonated with me, and literally since you said it, I've been in kind of this introspective, not that I'm not listening to what y'all are saying, but I've been in a bit of an introspective space because you kind of just helped me realize my dopeness. And if you know me, you know that this is like very rare for me to speak this way, so don't at me, please. But I hadn't really sat and thought about like what I bring to that space as far as the psychology background, as far as the, you know, however many years of experience within this space, and having a capacity to communicate that both in a research kind of way and also in a very real world kind of way. Like there's no reason why I should not be more of a prominent voice within that particular
At
space.
the forefront.
That's serious.
And I think, you know, thinking like your question, like where do I see that coming? It's me figuring out how that becomes a reality, figuring out how to make it so that I'm not, you know, looking at different seminars happening or hearing about different talks and having people ask me, wait, why aren't you on that panel? Why aren't you at that conversations? And not like kind of connecting all those things and realizing like, because it's very hard for me to like be prideful. Like it's just not me. So even saying something like, yeah, why the fuck am I not there? Like, why didn't I get asked? Like, I don't have to be like the headliner, but like, I've been a voice within this space for a minute now. I should continue, like, look to the person that's done it already instead of trying to act like, oh, this is new. And no, I've been hollering about it for a little bit now. Like,
Yeah. And that's my thing. I ain't even gonna hold you, fam. Let me put it in the space where you should be on the headliner. No. We should start our own shit. Because that's what type of stuff that we talking about. We talking about all these different entities that we've mentioned inside here in terms of all the different people that we can touch right now, get active. We put them all in the same goddamn room. You really think that anybody else putting on any other type of whatever kind of event that you want would rival that in any sort of way? I'm going to tell you that you're wrong if you think that they can rock with what we going on. I'm going to tell you that you need to be not just the headliner, but you need to be a proprietor inside that space. And you need to take pride in, hey, let's have this collective ownership of this thing because it's going to tour. It's going to go around. We're going to pick up more people. And this revolution is happening on these microphones right now. That's what I need to tell you, brother. That's what success looks like for me in your eyes. I want to see it. I want to see my teacher go soar.
Here's the matter of the fact situation, and I've heard you say this to people. I've heard you say to people that if you don't see what you want, to be it. I've heard you say that. So I know that you believe that. So if that's the case, then I know I've looked on TV and heard someone who's supposed to be an expert and watched CNN and been like, dude, no, that's not even, you know what I mean? Like when you they look for authenticity and they try to bring people who can like wear a hat. And now, you know, now you got a Supreme hoodie, so now you know what you're talking about. Or, you know what I mean? Or you've done yoga 7 times, so now you understand movement. Or you've taken a couple classes, or you've been a coach for a year, so now you know what coaching is. You know, you've taken a few classes, so now you know psychology. And all these people are being dropped into these spaces that definitely don't know all of the things that you do. So be in that space.
They think you're the funk, homie. I'm trying to let you know. You know, we can't stand for it. We're not going to do it, and we're going to put the pressure on the goddamn system, Los.
Who else won't fuck with Hollywood Code?
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. He's going to get that oil back out. We oiling up again.
You lost Troy on the oil.
If you see anything revolving him and Roan, they are always oiled up.
That's what I'm
These
saying,
boys
man. We
be
getting oiled up. Oh,
oiled up all
good.
day. But on another level, man, you got the knowledge, and more importantly, man, you got the cultural experience that a lot of these cats don't have. You really have the ability to bridge the gap. I told you that, you know, from the time I met you, watching how you parent. I told you at the last event that we had, right? That you, I ain't gonna lie to you, should have been up on that stage with, right? But all I can do is look at what we got going forward and saying, listen, if that's something you want, say it with your chest, nigga. Speak up.
It's also one of those things that don't get...
It's here. Listen, it's here for you. It's here for you, fam.
Yeah.
You feel me? Because if not you, who? And if not now, when? Right? Because you really got the juice. You got the sauce.
Hell yeah.
And I'm saying it with my heart.
See, there we go. We in here now.
Because I knew it from the start. I ain't gonna hold it like a fork.
Yeah.
Let me show
All right.
rooftop scene.
All right, I'm done. I'm done.
That was
As soon
shit.
as he said you got the juice, I'm on the rooftop.
Yeah.
I was legit on the rooftop.
He was ready for it,
got
man.
You heard it? You heard that bass guitar?
He's he's like, he's on the ledge right now. He's feeling it.
You got the juice now, Lo.
You
Got that long
Los.
pause.
You do,
Yeah.
Los. You got it, dog. You
Fam,
got it.
I want to also just...
He gonna knock somebody over on the way out of this.
He gonna throw him off
He
the
gonna walk out
ledge.
this building. Move!
Yeah. Before we go off the ledge,
I feel bad for my client coming up.
they about to get every one of these reps.
She's gonna be like, what did I do?
You went in the gym today.
I just did clean and jerk burpees.
Your
I'm
ass
not
showed
even...
up.
Yeah, exactly. You was ready for the revolution.
Handstand walks.
But another thing that a lot of us get really, I'd say, paralyzed by is the thought that you have to do all that stuff by yourself, right? So here's like, again, go back to the same part of that conversation. Domain expert. I'm not going to let you say anything else in that space where I see a lot of other people who take this wellness trope and they are doing as much as they can with it for far less. Be a domain expert in that and then have the trust, have the confidence that everybody else that you're around in concert with can take care of some of them other problems. Delegate them when you can. You know, use the network when you can, right? And then you'll see this walk that I thought was really far out probably ain't that far. We can make this happen a lot quicker. We'll get to the bag way faster and everybody can eat. I'm talking about bounty. Let's get ready for this harvest, fellas.
The beauty is we got resources. Okay, bro.
Los, man, you know, we like to wrap the show with something good for the listeners. What's a gem that you could give everyone listening off the strength? Something they can do to level up, to tap deeper into, to soar, if you will, from the heart.
I mean, I think something that actually, like, me and my lady talk a lot about is, like, you have to figure out who you are. And I mean that in the sense of, like, what are your non-negotiables? You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times we kind of just go through spaces and kind of exist through spaces and, you know, kind of just deal with things because we feel we have to. But, like, at some point in you know, everyone's evolution, like, you have to realize, like, who you are as a person and sort of what that means as far as, like, the spaces that you allow yourself to be in, the conversations that you allow to happen, the activities that, you know, you allow to be a part of your space. Like, you got to figure out, like, what that looks like and then make sure that you're not violating that. Because I think a lot of the issues that, you know, we have and the anger that we have and the resentment that we have and the fear that we have is because we're not really sure who we are. We're not really sure, like, what makes us comfortable because we're so used to being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, you know, I ask everyone that's listening to figure out, and it's going to be different from person to person, but, like, figure out a space, whether it's, you know, the back of your Starbucks, like, whether it's your mom's basement, like, just figure out a space where you can sit and kind of have conversations with yourself about just you know what I mean? And just genuine, unfiltered, not for the gram, not for your parents' approval, not for your significant others, you know, consideration, like, just for you. Like, how are you feeling? How are you processing sort of where you're at right now and where you want to be? And I just ask you guys to, like, just find some time to do that for yourself.
Find some time. Find some time to check in on your strong friends. Find some time to check into yourself.
For real, man.
Make sure you give yourself that breath and that space to understand and analyze the way that my man Los is putting down. Now, Los, you got to let our good listeners know. This is friend and family of the show, folks. Make sure you're checking out wherever Los is dropping down. Los, let them know where they can find you, big homie.
Mostly at Fitting Room, generally at their Flatiron location. Teaching at LIU and John Jay. Teach at CrossFit Fifth Avenue on Thursdays as well. Yeah, you can catch me at on my IG at BABALOS, Babalos. And that's generally where, like, if I, anything like scholarly or whatever, I'll post about it on Instagram and have links and stuff like that. So yeah.
Make sure we're going to add all these links in the bio. Make sure we're going to follow this, man. We definitely going to get inside here. We're going to keep banging this goddamn drum, Los. I don't know if you understand it.
To the right rhythm.
Exactly.
So some of them got a drum, but they rhythm off.
Yeah, man. We on the ones and twos. Some people just be on the ones. We try to make it work.
It's a little scary sometimes.
You ain't a DJ if you just press and play.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Let them know again.
Got to adjust that speed sometimes.
Exactly. Pitch control. Make sure you get that right. Once again, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength. I'm a trainer called Tony.
K.R. Jones.
Troy Brooks.
You're a trainer, Corey.
Peace and much love to y'all. Until next time, we'll see you soon.